Role 1. The safety lock. The number 6. Let's start with the most underappreciated role in football. Ask any fan who the most important player in a midfield is, and they will tell you the number 10, the creator, the playmaker, the one who makes the magic happen. Ask any manager who has actually won a championship and most of them will give you a completely different answer. The safety lock, the number 6. The player nobody watches, nobody celebrates, and nobody fully understands until the moment he is gone. The number 6 lives in the space directly in front of the back four, and his entire purpose is to own it. Every pass an opponent tries to play through the center, he reads before it is made. Every second ball, he wins. Every time the team needs someone to take the ball under pressure and move it simply, he is the answer. He does not chase glory. He eliminates problems that most teammates have not yet identified. The story that explains this role better than any tactical diagram is Claude Makelele leaving Real Madrid in 2003. Real Madrid still had Zidane, Figo, and Ronaldo, and the club decided a direct replacement was not necessary. What followed was one of the most public tactical lessons the sport has ever produced. Real Madrid fell apart defensively for 2 consecutive seasons because nobody could replicate what Makelele had been doing in front of the backline. The position was eventually renamed the Makelele role in his honor. Sergio Busquets gave the role a playmaking dimension at Barcelona, receiving with his back to play under maximum pressure, using a subtle body feint or a single drag back to completely neutralize a 4-man press, and emerge with the ball on the other side as if nobody had been there. He won 3 Champions Leagues as the foundation of Spain's dominant era. His calmness in that 6 space was the reason Xavi and Iniesta could take risks everywhere else. Rodri at Manchester City became the first modern defensive midfielder in history to win the Ballon d'Or in 2024, combining elite protection with a Regista's distribution from deep, and Casemiro won 5 Champions Leagues from that same position, contributing crucial goals in the biggest moments. Because the number 6 done at the highest level is not about being invisible, it is about making the team feel invincible. Role 2. The Regista. Above the number 6 sits a different kind of deep midfielder, and this is where a lot of fans get confused, because from the outside, the Regista looks similar. He also sits deep, he also rarely scores, he also does not press the way the attackers do, but the difference in purpose is enormous. The number 6 protects, the Regista dictates. He does not defend space, he controls time. The Regista receives in the pocket the opponent is pressing toward and immediately plays the pass that breaks it, not sideways, not backwards. The ball that skips an entire defensive line, a 50-yard diagonal that switches the point of attack before the press resets, or a disguised through pass that puts a striker in behind before the defense has processed that the ball moved. The entire tempo of the match runs through him. He decides when the game is fast and when it is slow before most players have finished reacting to what just happened. Andrea Pirlo is the definition of this role. At Brescia and Inter Milan, he was used as an attacking midfielder and it never worked. Ancelotti moved him deep at AC Milan, and everything changed. Italy won the 2006 World Cup with Pirlo starting every match as the Regista, completing over 90% of his passes throughout the tournament. The detail that makes the role fascinating: Pirlo was the slowest sprinter in the Italian squad. He could not outrun anyone. He did not need to, because by the time others were running, he had already played the pass. His secret weapon was something Italian football calls la pausa, the intentional microsecond delay on the ball. He would stand perfectly still as an opposing midfielder stepped out to press him, wait for that exact moment the defender committed and opened up the lane behind them, and then drop the vertical pass through the gap before anyone could recover. He did not react to the press, he used it. Xabi Alonso brought the same intelligence with greater range. His diagonals for Real Madrid and Bayern Munich were among the most precise long deliveries the modern game has produced. Toni Kroos refined it into its most efficient form, winning 5 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid while always making the game look slower than it was. The guy spent his entire career casually dropping 95% passing accuracy charts, making you realize that even if you trapped him in a phone booth with 3 defenders, he'd still find an open man like it was Sunday League. Role 3. The ball winner. The number 6 sits and protects. The ball winner hunts. He covers every blade of grass, tracks runners into positions he was never assigned to cover, and wins the ball in areas his teammates do not even reach. Where the number 6 is the wall, the ball winner is the system that stops attacks before they ever get there. The number 6 holds his position and forces play wide. The ball winner presses, covers the flanks when fullbacks push forward, tracks strikers into wide channels, and wins the ball in zones that were nobody's specific responsibility. The press-heavy systems that dominate modern football, Klopp, Simeone, Ten Hag, are built entirely around this role. Without a genuine ball winner at the heart of them, the press has no teeth. Pundits used to joke that the earth was covered by 70% water, and the rest was covered by N'Golo Kante. He won the Premier League with Leicester City in 2015-16, a squad given 5,000 to 1 odds at the start of the season. The following year, he won it again with Chelsea, a different club, a different squad. No other outfield player in Premier League history has done that. He won the World Cup with France in 2018 and the Champions League with Chelsea in 2021. His true superpower was anticipation. He knew where the ball was going before the passer had even adjusted their body, allowing him to step in, pick your pocket, and immediately flip the game into a transition. Gennaro Gattuso at AC Milan gave the role its most aggressive form. 2 Champions Leagues built on psychological warfare as much as positioning, making the midfield so uncomfortable that technically superior opponents ran out of the will to operate. Roy Keane at Manchester United brought the most ferocious version. His 1999 Champions League semi-final against Juventus, driving the comeback while knowing a booking had ruled him out of the final, remains one of the most iconic individual midfield performances in the competition's history. Every loose ball, Keane decided, belonged entirely to his shirt. And João Palhinha, in the modern era, consistently leads Europe in defensive duels won per season, turning the central zone into a complete no-entry area for anyone attempting to play through the middle. Role 4. The number 8. The connector. The number 8 is the most iconic shirt in midfield, and the player who wears it properly, when they truly understand what it demands, is the most selfless and most intelligent connector in football. Not a destroyer, not a regista, not a scorer. The player who makes every other position on the pitch work by being the perfect link between all of them. The number 8 is the hardest role to explain through statistics because it produces no jaw-dropping numbers. He does not top the interceptions chart. He rarely leads the assists table. He scores occasionally. What he does, receive under pressure, protect the ball instantly, recycle intelligently, drive forward when space opens, track back when possession is lost, is almost impossible to reduce to a single metric. And yet when the number 8 is done at the highest level, the team's entire midfield structure is built around him. When he is missing, the connections between every other position quietly break down, and most people cannot immediately identify why. The clearest proof of this role's value came in 2018. For over a decade, the Ballon d'Or had belonged exclusively to Messi and Ronaldo. Then a 33-year-old central midfielder who had scored twice in the World Cup and worked entirely within Croatia's team structure, won it. Luka Modric had dragged Croatia through 3 consecutive extra-time knockout matches, playing every minute of all 3, to reach the World Cup final. The award was the sport acknowledging that the number 8, done at its absolute peak, decides matches as much as any goal or any assist. Andrés Iniesta at Barcelona gave the role its most beautiful expression. He mastered what Spanish football calls la croqueta, shifting the ball from one foot to the other in 1 microsecond, eliminating the pressure of a closing defender without even using his body. He received in the tightest spaces under the heaviest pressing and never lost the ball, which is how he arrived to score the winning goal in the 116th minute of the 2010 World Cup final from a midfield run. And Vitinha at PSG is the freshest modern version, technically immaculate, press-resistant, always in the right position, making the team function more cleanly through pure positional intelligence. Role 5. The box-to-box. The box-to-box midfielder has one instruction: be in both penalty boxes in the same match, goals at one end, tackles at the other, 90 minutes of maximum intensity throughout. It is the most physically demanding midfield role in football and the most romantically loved, because the players who execute it at the highest level produce some of the most iconic individual performances the game has ever seen. The box-to-box covers the entire pitch, pressing high, defending deep, building from midfield, arriving late in the box, and recovering when possession is turned over. The role demands completeness as its basic requirement, which is why truly elite box-to-box midfielders are rarer than almost any other position. The most iconic single performance this role has ever produced was Steven Gerrard in the 2005 Champions League final, AC Milan 3-0 at half-time. Gerrard scored the header that started the comeback, drove the revival to 3-3, and then spent extra time pressing, tracking, and fighting for every ball, as though sheer determination could undo what the first 45 minutes had done. That performance, both ends, both boxes, when everything was on the line, is the box-to-box role at its most complete. Frank Lampard gave it its most extreme goal-scoring expression: 177 Premier League goals from central midfield, the all-time record for the position, scored through the specific quality of arriving late into areas the striker's movement had already cleared. Patrick Vieira at Arsenal dominated English midfields through physical authority and attacking drive across 3 Premier League titles, including the Invincibles of 2003 to 2004. And Yaya Touré at Manchester City brought a version nobody had seen before, the physical presence of a destroyer combined with the technique of a playmaker, winning 3 Premier League titles and 4 consecutive African Player of the Year awards from the same central midfield position. Role 6. The Shadow Striker. This is the role most defences never solve. The Shadow Striker starts as a midfielder, listed in the midfield line, involved in build-up and ball circulation, and then, from somewhere nobody tracked, he arrives in the penalty box at exactly the right moment and scores a goal that looks like it was produced by someone who spent their entire career as a forward. The reason defences cannot solve this role is marking responsibility. Centre-backs track strikers. Midfielders track opposing midfielders. The shadow striker starts as a midfielder, so the centre-back does not pick him up. By the time the run develops, the defender has 1 second to decide, follow someone who was never his responsibility, or hold and give a free run into the box. That moment of uncertainty is where the shadow striker lives. Thomas Müller invented language for this at the 2010 World Cup, the Raumdeuter, the Space Investigator, finishing with 5 goals and the Golden Boot at 20 years old from a position no coach had ever formally named before. He scored 5 more at the 2014 World Cup from the same movement patterns. 10 World Cup goals across 2 tournaments without ever being the designated centre forward. Müller drifts through matches like an invisible man. He does not have elite pace. He does not have spectacular dribbling, but his understanding of defensive blind spots is flawless. He waits for the exact moment a defensive line shifts or a centre-back's attention moves, and then he occupies that space before the defender has even processed that it has opened. Jude Bellingham is the most extreme modern version. 23 league goals from central midfield in his debut La Liga season with Real Madrid, arriving in the box from positions nobody had tracked. Ilkay Gundogan scored 13 Premier League goals from central midfield in a single Manchester City season through the same principle. Late runs, unmarked arrivals, finishing from areas nobody expected a midfielder to reach. And Antoine Griezmann for France and Atletico Madrid showed the international dimension, dropping into midfield zones before making runs the defence had not accounted for. Dangerous precisely because nobody could agree on whose job he was. Role 7. The Mezzala. If you have ever watched a central midfielder drift into an advanced position he had no obvious reason to be in, and create something dangerous from there, you are watching a Mezzala. The half space is the most exploitable area in modern football, and the Mezzala is the role built to occupy it. The pitch has 5 vertical channels, the centre, 2 wide flanks, and 2 channels in between called the half spaces. Most defensive structures cover the centre and the wings, but consistently leave those in-between zones underprotected. A player receiving in a half space facing goal has 3 immediate options: shoot, drive through, or play a runner in behind, and the defender must account for all 3 from one moment. The Mezzala's job is to receive there, face goal, and create. He is the midfielder who attacks like a forward without abandoning his midfield structure. Kevin De Bruyne in Man City's possession phases is the most decisive modern example, operating in the right half space, receiving on the half turn, and playing the pass that breaks defensive structures at the exact moment they are most vulnerable. His Premier League assist record was built almost entirely from that position and that role. Nicolo Barella at Inter Milan gives the role its most energetic Italian expression, constantly making forward runs into the right half space, arriving late in the box as a genuine scoring threat, combining attacking aggression with the defensive commitment that makes him one of the most complete central midfielders in Serie A. Sandro Tonali brought the same qualities to AC Milan and Newcastle with remarkable consistency, and Sergej Milinkovic-Savic at Lazio gave the role its most physically dominant version, arriving in the half space with power and technique, producing double-digit goal and assist contributions from central midfield across 8 seasons of consistently outstanding performances. Role 8. The number 10. The number 10 shirt is the most celebrated in football. It represents something specific: freedom. Freedom to operate in what coaches call Zone 14, the pocket between the opponent's midfield and defensive line, the most dangerous area on the pitch to receive the ball in. Freedom to create and to do something nobody anticipated. And in the last 20 years, that freedom has been slowly reduced and transformed because the modern game decided it could not afford the pure version anymore. The classic trequartista operated in Zone 14 with complete creative freedom and almost no defensive responsibility, no pressing triggers, no defensive shape to maintain, just the ball, the space, and the decision. Francesco Totti built 25 years and 307 goals at Roma from that pocket, living in a zone of freedom that modern football barely allows to exist. His genius was not just the long-range shots or the assists. It was the cuchillo, the delicate chip that he could produce under pressure when opponents expected the obvious pass, and the first time, no-look-through balls he delivered without even checking the position of the runner. Zinedine Zidane gave the role a physical grandeur nobody has since replicated, the creative fulcrum of France's 1998 World Cup and Real Madrid's Galacticos era, combining ball control, vision, and an authority in possession that made him the most dominant playmaker of his generation. And Kaká won the 2007 Ballon d'Or from the same position at AC Milan, adding pace and athleticism to the classic trequartista's instinct. But the modern game ended the pure trequartista, when managers demand their attacking players press high, track runners, and be the first line of the defensive shape when possession is lost. A player who only creates and never defends is a luxury nobody can sustain. The role adapted. Mesut Ozil brought elite final third creation combined with enough structure to function within pressing systems at Real Madrid and Arsenal. His vision felt like he was watching from a helicopter, seeing angles nobody else had processed yet, finding them with a pass so perfectly weighted it looked routine until you tried to replicate it. And Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United became the most productive version of the modern 10 in English football, pressing, tracking, and creating more direct goal contributions than virtually any other midfielder in the league. The number 10 did not disappear, it evolved. Role 9. The Carrilero. This is the role most football fans have never heard of, and that is exactly the point. The Carrilero's purpose is to make sure the players you have heard of can perform without the structure around them collapsing. He covers ground nobody else covers. When he is performing perfectly, nobody notices him. When he is missing, the formation becomes harder to hold together, and nobody can immediately explain why. The Carrilero does not operate centrally like a CM or push wide like a winger. He lives in the lateral channel between those two, running side to side, covering the space between the full-back and the central midfielder. When the full-back pushes forward, the Carrilero fills the defensive lane he left behind. When the team presses, the Carrilero is the second wave of pressure covering the opponent's wide player. When possession is won, he provides the simple option that keeps the move going without risking anything. He is the structural foundation that holds the shape together for 90 minutes while everyone else plays the game people came to watch. James Milner at Liverpool under Klopp is the clearest example, never in the highlights, but the team's defensive shape was measurably more compact when he started. Mateo Kovacic gave the role technical elegance at Chelsea and Real Madrid, winning major trophies at both clubs by covering the right lanes and recycling possession without ever seeking the spectacular. Jorginho Wijnaldum performed the same structural function throughout Liverpool's Champions League and Premier League winning campaigns, always available, always covering. And Federico Valverde at Real Madrid has pushed the role to its most explosive modern version: wide lateral covering, extraordinary physical capacity, and the intelligence to drive forward at exactly the right moment, making him one of the most complete midfielders in Europe from a position most fans could not even name. Role 10. The modern hybrid. We have just gone through 9 completely distinct midfield roles, and here is what makes all of them even more interesting. The best midfielders on the planet right now do not fit cleanly into any single one of them. The modern hybrid is what happens when a footballer masters multiple roles at once, performing 2 or 3 of them simultaneously in the same match. Bernardo Silva at Manchester City is the clearest example, a tactical Swiss army knife who gives the manager a different tool every time the game changes phase. In possession, he attacks the half space like a Mazzala, driving at defenders, creating from the right channel. The moment City lose the ball, he drops into the wide defensive lane and covers like a Carrilero, locking down the space behind the advancing fullback. Under Guardiola's most complex systems, he has also dropped deep next to Rodri in the build-up phase and been deployed holding the touchline as a traditional wide player in the same match. 3 roles, 90 minutes, 0 complaints. He was central to City's 2022-23 treble precisely because no opponent could predict which version of him they were about to face. Pedri at Barcelona shows the same principle through a different set of roles, reading the game and linking play with the intelligence of a number 8, while simultaneously creating final third chances with the vision and precision of a number 10. He does not shift between the two depending on the phase. He performs both simultaneously, which is what separates elite from very good. And what ties both of them together is a simple idea. They do not look at positions, they look at space. And in modern football, the midfielder who understands space better than a positional label is always the most dangerous one on the pitch. The modern hybrid does not make the other 9 roles obsolete, it makes them more valuable, because you can only blend 2 roles effectively if you first understand what each of them demands. Next time someone says he is just a midfielder, you know that could mean 9 completely different jobs. Or, in the case of the very best right now, several of them at once. Now I want to hear from you. Out of these 10 roles, which one do you think is the most underrated in terms of the impact it has on a match? Is it the safety lock, whose absence brings the entire structure down? Or the carrilero, who holds everything together while nobody is watching? Drop your answer in the comments. I am always in there reading and debating with you guys. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you do not miss what is next. And if you want more football right now, click one of the videos on your screen. Trust me, if you loved this one, you're going to love what's next.